Hey guys, so on today's video, I'm gonna do a Valentine's Day tutorial pretty much on this look that I'm wearing right now. Everything that I'm using on today's video is gonna be from the drugstore, which makes it that much more exciting. But before we get started, hi, my name is Alex, and if you guys are new to this channel, on this channel, I do a lot of makeup videos that revolve around oily skin. So if that's something that you guys can totally relate to, the struggle is real. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Yeah, without further ado, let's get started with the video. Alright, so we're gonna start off with spraying the face with this. This is the Pacifica Pineapple Matte Flower Spray. I think that's what it's called. Pineapple Flower Matte Spray. This spray is like a drink of water for your skin, I'm telling you guys. You guys need to try it if you haven't tried it already. I'm gonna go ahead and prime my skin with this. This is the Wet n Wild Matte Primer. I'm mainly gonna concentrate this on my T-zone because that's the area that usually gets the oiliest. And I feel like this primer really does what it's supposed to do, and it keeps my makeup as matte as possible. For today's look, I'm gonna use the new L'Oreal Fresh Wear Foundation. I got mine in the shade 475. I did a whole video on this foundation, so if you wanna see that and how it works and how it wears, I'm gonna go ahead and link it up above for you guys. But I've been loving this foundation. It just wears so beautifully on my oily skin. I'm gonna be using my e.l.f. Total Face Sponge. Just gonna blend it out. I usually put the foundation on the sponge and then blend it out. But here, I'm gonna do it this way so you guys can see how the foundation works. I feel like this foundation will honestly work on a lot of skin types. It's not a matte formula by any means, but it holds up really well. And I feel like a lot of girls with dry skin have been giving it awesome reviews. And I have oily skin, so if you're on the fence about using this foundation, I think give it a go. I think it's worth a shot. It's a very beautiful formula. The only thing about this foundation is that it doesn't build that nicely, so if you do decide to build it up for more fuller coverage, just don't overdo it because I feel like it doesn't build nicely. For concealer, I finally got the L'Oreal Full Wear Concealer. I don't know if this is going to be my shade, but just in case it does work out, I got my shade in 385 Amber. I have tried it already and I wasn't completely obsessed, but I wanted to try it once again in camera or on camera so you guys can see it. You guys, a little bit goes a long way. So I'm just gonna start with that. And same sponge, blend it out. So what I noticed the first time I used it, I felt like it was a little bit too dry for my taste. Maybe I used too much, and that's honestly what I think happened. I think I applied a little too much. So today I just decided to use a little bit less because maybe I think that will do the trick. And honestly, I think that's looking a lot better than the first time that I used it. It was bunching up around this area way too much, and that's usually where I first apply the concealer, so I just honestly think that I used way too much. So right now it's looking pretty good. I think this color is working pretty well actually. Not mixing it with anything else. This is just the color Amber. Not too light, not too dark. It's the perfect amount of brightness under the eye in my opinion. Alright, so for setting, I'm going to go ahead and use the Wet n Wild. This is the contour palette in the shade Caramel Toffee. I'm going to use the yellow shade just to set the under eye area. For brushes, I'm also going to use drugstore brushes. This is the Real Techniques setting brush. It's a really nice brush. I think you could buy it on its own, but I actually got mine from Ulta. It came in a set. And I honestly love the whole set. If I can find it, I'll link it down below. I think it's called the Essentials set. And it truly is like an essential face brush set that you can use pretty much every day. To set the whole face, I'm going to use the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Powder. This is in the shade Medium 25. And this is going to make sure that once we go in with like bronzer and blush, it doesn't look patchy because you're making sure that everything is nice and dry and it's going to go on smoothly. So that's why I want to set the face with this. This is another brush from that kit, the Real Techniques 400 blush brush, but I use it to set my whole face. It's super soft, absolutely love it. And I just take whatever's on the lid. I start with my nose because that usually is what tends to get the most oily. And then I take the rest on my forehead. For bronzer, I'm just going to use the same palette from Wet n Wild, just the bronzer side, obviously. I'm going to use the e.l.f. complexion brush. It's just a nice fluffy brush. Oops, dropping everything. Just make sure that when you use this palette, you tap off the excess because it's kind of pigmented. But honestly, this is like one of the best bronzers at the drugstore. And a little bit on my forehead. I love this blush. This is the most subtle blush color you'll ever find at the drugstore. This is by e.l.f. It's called Mellow Mauve. And it's such a nice neutral blushy color. I love it. I'm gonna go ahead and use the Morphe M527 brush. Dip it into that. Tap off the excess and just lightly brush my cheeks with it. I'm choosing this color because I don't want the cheeks to overpower the rest of the look. But I do want a subtle color there. For highlight, I'm going to use the Milani Strobe Light Highlighter. It's a very pretty color. I actually hope they still carry this shade. Look at that shade. It's so pretty. This is the Morphe M500. And just dust it very lightly on the top of my cheekbones. I like to bring this up a little bit. But the main color I applied like right around here, and then once that's done, I just kind of swoop up and just kind of cover that area as well. For my eyebrows, I'm using the L'Oreal Brow Stylist Definer in the shade Dark Brunette. And I'm just going to fill in any sparseness that I have in my eyebrows. I feel like I need to microbleed them again. It's been almost a year. It'll be like a year in March. And they recommend a color boost every year. So I feel like it's almost time. So just taking this pencil very lightly on the areas where I feel like need just a little bit more color. And this kind of builds your brow a little bit more. And this is honestly all you have to do. Just kind of look at the brow and see, where do I need to fill in? Like, where do I want to see more hair? That's where you're going to go in with the pencil. And it helps to stand back. If you stand too close to the eyebrow and just kind of keep drawing and drawing, that's not going to work out. So stop every so often and look at them and kind of see where you need it. So like if you were to look at my eyebrows right now, I feel like this eyebrow right here needs a little bit more color at the top of the brow. So that's where I'm going to go in. And again, just very lightly, a little goes a long way. And if you feel like you go in too heavy-handed, then you go and take the spoolie side and just brush over. This is probably my favorite pencil ever from the drugstore. Not even from the drugstore. I think it's better than the Anastasia Beverly Hills one, only because it's cheaper, but the quality and like the formula I think is pretty much spot on. A complete dupe to it. It's just a lot cheaper. So if you're looking for a new Anastasia Beverly Hills alternative, I think this is a pretty good one to the brow wiz. I'm going to prime my eyes with the e.l.f. eyeshadow primer, and this is going to make sure that the eyeshadow stays on my lid. It avoids creasing of the eyeshadow. Just something that's on your eyelid so that the eyeshadow has something to grab onto. I'm going to be using the Wet n Wild Nude Awakening palette. This is a very nice palette. Very, very neutral, very wearable colors. I'm going to go ahead and set that base with the same brush that we used for under the eye, and using that bone color, just run it across the whole lid, just to make sure that everything is nice and set, and this will ensure that all the eyeshadows go on nice and smoothly, nothing looking patchy. So you want to make sure that you set that. Even if you use concealer, make sure you set that as well. I'm going to use the Wet n Wild P20 brush and dip it into this color right here. This is their transition color, and I'm going to start concentrating this on the crease area and just windshield wiper motions, going back and forth with light pressure, just to start off with something on the lid. Building up that color once again, I'm just going to dip the brush into that same color just to deepen it up a little bit more. This is the Morphe M441, and I use this to blend out any lines, any harsh edges, and just making sure that it looks seamless. Next, I'm going to take the Morphe M505 brush, and I'm going to dip it into this color right here. It's the bottom transition color. This one's a little darker, and I'm going to put it right underneath that first color that we applied. Right around here, just a tad lower and not too far in. You could also extend it into like a V shape, so you can go up and down and out. So we can start creating kind of like an elongated cat eye with this shadow. It may seem like you're doing nothing at all. Like I'm looking in the mirror and it doesn't look like anything, but then I'm looking at the viewfinder and you could see that elongating effect. So just take your time, little by little. You want to start with very little shadow, especially because the color is darker, so you don't want to go in with too much pigment and then having to take off. That's like a lot harder. So just start with a little bit of shadow and then work your way up. Alright, liner time. So I'm going to be using the L'Oreal Infallible Lacquer Liner. This is in the shade Black. For the brush, I'm going to use the Essence Precise Eyeliner brush. You can get this at Ulta. I hope they still carry it. I think it was like $1. And it's honestly one of the best angled brushes I've had in a long time. I'm going to dip my brush into the liner. And using the lid, get rid of all that excess and make sure that your brush is nice and flat and straight and that there's no clumps on that eyeliner brush. I'm going to quickly show you how I do it. I do pull my skin a little bit. If you don't like that, it's hard to do without it. So I mean, but this is just how I do it. I'm gonna go ahead and curl my lashes before we put any mascara. And then for mascara, I'm gonna use one of my favorite mascaras from the drugstore. This is the Essence Volume Stylist 18-Hour Curl and Hold Mascara. It is kind of comparable to the L'Oreal Lash Paradise, which I also have, but I feel like this one just works better, or maybe lasts longer than the Lash Paradise. For the lips, I have a few options for you guys. I'm gonna use this one. This is not exactly from the drugstore, but it is very affordable. It's by ColourPop, and this is in the shade Maxed Out. It's a matte color, and it's a very beautiful pink color for the lips. Super pretty, so I'm gonna use this for today. But you also can get, Maybelline has some really good lipsticks. This one is On Fire Red. It's a very nice, very pretty red color. This one's not matte though. It does have a little bit of a satiny finish. And this one is Rebel Pink. This one I believe is matte, but it's a very beautiful pink as well. I just really love the ColourPop formula. I love this color. As much as I don't like wearing lipstick, this color and this formula is just so nice. I don't like the feeling of liquid lipsticks, so I feel like their matte finish of the Luxe lipsticks from ColourPop is just so comfortable, and you still get that matte effect. It almost looks like you're wearing a liquid lipstick, but it doesn't feel dry or crackling on your lips. It just feels really comfortable. So if you are interested in that, check it out. If you don't like liquid lipsticks like me, check out this formula because it's really, really comfortable to wear, and their color selection is awesome. This pink, I love this pink. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this look. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.